In the name of God. Hello friends. As I said in the previous clip, in this clip we will get to know one of the most visited tourist places in the world, the Great Wall of China. The next clip is about the city of Venice. If you love tourist places and enjoy these clips, don't forget to like and subscribe. It is necessary to say that this clip with English subtitles is for hearing impaired people and also for those who are interested in learning English. Well, let's go. At approximately 21,196 kilometers long, the Great Wall of China is the longest structure on Earth and was built to defend against enemy attacks from the northern regions that threatened the Chinese empires. Interestingly, some historians have stated that the primary purpose of building the Great Wall was to prevent foreigners from entering. The opposite has happened today, and China welcomes millions of foreign tourists every year. What we know today about the Great Wall of China is a collection of different buildings that millions of workers lost their lives to build. While this wall did not have much effect in preventing the attack of invaders, and today it is only considered as a symbol of the lasting power of Chinese civilization. The Great Wall of China was registered as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1987 and is considered one of the most incredible engineering feats the world has ever seen. The Great Wall of China was built by different dynasties over a period of 2,000 years, and over the centuries, its construction techniques have gradually improved. In fact, a detailed study of the history of the Great Wall of China shows how this structure was created, and one can understand the evolution of Chinese design and construction methods. The modern Great Wall of China. Most people's image of the Great Wall of China is associated with the magnificent structures near Beijing that were built during the Ming dynasty during the 15th and 16th centuries and reflect significantly more advanced construction techniques and materials. The early Wall of China. The early parts of the wall were built 2,000 years ago, and as a result, they had less technique and strength. Most of these parts have been lost after centuries of erosion. However, parts of it still remain after thousands of years of weathering. Due to the availability of local soil, most of the Great Wall of China was built with clay-rich soil using the hangtu technique. For this purpose, they poured the pounded soil on the layers of wood and then pounded it and repeated the same method for the rest of the layers. Each layer was 18 centimeters high, which reached 13 centimeters when pounded. Interestingly, this wall is not a continuous structure and includes a series of walls and fortifications that have been formed over hundreds of years. Many smaller walls were built between the 8th and 5th centuries BC to defend the borders of each state, but after the unification of China in 221 BC, the Chinese dynasty ordered the destruction of these walls and the construction of new walls to connect some of the existing walls. The first emperor of the Qin dynasty ordered 300,000 soldiers to start building the Great Wall, and in the meantime, rural people and farmers were used to supplement the workforce. The builders of the wall always tried to use local resources, therefore, the walls passing through the mountains were made of stone, and the walls passing through the plains were rammed with earth. The construction of the Great Wall of China in the desert was accompanied by a series of challenges, because the material available to the builders was only sand, and therefore, they took initiative and used the combination of sand and native plants of the desert. The short-lived Qin dynasty was followed by the Han dynasty, which ruled for more than 4 centuries and invested heavily in strengthening the Great Wall of China, building towers and other defensive equipment. During this period, the aforementioned wall extended to the Gobi Desert, the main reason for which was the existence of the Silk Road and the protection of merchants against bandits. In fact, the Great Wall of China stretched from Liaodong in the east to the Xinjiang region in the west during the Han period, making it the longest wall built by a single Chinese dynasty. After the Han period, this wall was almost not used, because its constant maintenance and repair was costly. Future emperors also often used a combination of alliances, good diplomacy, and strong armies to control their northern neighbors. Throughout the Great Wall's history, when China's relationship with other countries was peaceful, the wall was used as a trade market for different cultures to meet and trade goods. After many years of economic and cultural exchanges along the various passages along the wall, many cities were formed, including Zhangjiakou, Gubiko, etc. During the Song dynasty, 1127 to 1279 AD, China saw the rise of a new breed of Mongol warriors, under the leadership of Genghis Khan, who formed a powerful and disciplined army and were considered a major threat to the entire Chinese Empire. Despite the significant fortifications, the Great Wall of China at that time was still made of centuries-old earthen walls that were not difficult to overcome. So in the following decades, the Mongols constantly found infiltration routes around or inside the wall until, in 1279, they defeated the Song dynasty and ruled all of China for 100 years. As expected, the Great Wall of China was not maintained and protected during this period, because no enemy threatened this government anymore. After pushing the Mongols back to the north, the Chinese regained power in 1368 AD and laid the groundwork for the beginning of the Ming dynasty. In this period, despite the increasing pressure and threats of the Mongols, the reconstruction of the Great Wall of China began and 25,000 guard towers were built. During the Ming dynasty, they built a stronger wall by using more bricks and stones and lime mortar. In this way, brick factories were established near the Great Wall of China. Over time, about 100 million tons of bricks, stones, and mud were used to build it, which was a modern construction before the production of modern machinery, and in this sense, it is considered a remarkable masterpiece. The materials for building the wall were transported in different ways, such as by hand, shoulder, waist, wheel, and wheel rope, and animals such as camels, horses, and even goats. Additionally, it has recently been discovered that the wall's strength was partly due to the use of sticky brass throughout its structure. The completion of the walls of the Ming period took more than 100 years, which was not continuous due to internal political conflicts. By the end of the 16th century, the Great Wall of China was completely completed. It is interesting to know that the Cultural Heritage Administration and the National Mapping Administration of China have announced that 8,851.8 kilometers of the Great Wall of China were built during the Ming dynasty. Many parts of the wall are mainly made of stone. The first walls had dry structures without mortar, but when they were carefully placed on top of each other, they formed strong stone walls that reached 6 meters in height. Ming dynasty architects created plaques and decorative reliefs in some parts of the Great Wall of China, which can be seen today in the sections near Beijing, as well as in Zhuyongguan and the Yanhesheng Wall. During this period, the Great Wall of China found its present form and was more than a simple wall, because it became a part of the main infrastructure of the country and directed water flows. In addition, a large part of it was built on high mountains to use the slope of the mountain as a defensive advantage. As a result, China was not only safe from the harassment of the northern invaders of the country from the Tibetan Plateau to the west, but also protected from the Pacific Ocean to the east. This wall crosses rivers, valleys, and other challenging areas, and considering the time periods it was built, there is no doubt that it is an engineering marvel. During the Qing dynasty, the Great Wall was neglected, because there was no threat from the northern steppe people, and the Qing rulers who were from that region had good relations with other northern states. It was in the 1930s that the Great Wall of China played an important role in the history of this country. Before and during the Second Sino-Japanese War, the United Front used the Great Wall as a physical barrier to defend against northern invasion. Today, thousands of bullet holes can be seen along the wall, left over from the battle with the Japanese. In the 3 centuries after the collapse of the Ming dynasty, Chinese intellectuals saw the Great Wall as a symbol of the country's mistakes, often saying that it had led to a waste of human lives and vast resources. For this reason, the Great Wall of China is considered only as a cultural treasure in the relatively modern history of the country. In addition, the Great Wall of China, like many temples, ancient works, and arts of China, was considered one of the old symbols of feudalism, which had hindered the progress of the country. In the 1960s, Mao's Red Guards destroyed parts of the wall's feudal monuments. Even before the Cultural Revolution and the Red Guards, Mao encouraged farmers to use the stone and bricks of the Great Wall as free building materials. During Mao's era and after that, farmers went to fill their land with the crushed soil of parts of the ramparts and wall fortifications, and used its stones to build houses and walls, etc. Fortunately, Deng Xiaoping, who succeeded Mao, understood the symbolic value of the Great Wall and declared in 1984, "Love China, rebuild the Great Wall." In this way, the restoration of the Great Wall of China began, especially the parts near Beijing, and the Badaling Wall was the first place to undergo restoration. Despite Deng Xiaoping's efforts, the Great Wall of China is still under attack by man and nature, especially in polluted areas. Although no one knows for sure, wall officials have estimated that more than 2/3 of the wall may have been damaged or destroyed. Meanwhile, the rest of the wall is in a bad condition. The Great Wall of China was built over 2,000 years by 19 different dynasties from the 7th century BC to the 16th century AD. Four people played the most important role in its construction: a duke of the Zhou dynasty, the first emperor of the Qin dynasty, Emperor Wu of the Han dynasty, and General Qi Jiguang of the Ming dynasty. The Great Wall of China is a huge structure that spans several provinces in northern China. However, the most famous part of it that has been restored is located in the north of Beijing. The Great Wall of China starts near the border of Korea and the Bohai Sea and extends to the Gobi Desert in Yangquan and passes through 9 provinces and autonomous regions in northern China such as Hebei, Beijing, Shaanxi, Inner Mongolia, Ningxia, and Gansu. Because the Great Wall of China is not a single wall and was built over several centuries, there is no easy and definitive answer to its length. Unfortunately, there is no historical record of the exact length of the main walls in the Qin dynasty, which were first built 2,000 years ago. Naturally, most of its ancient walls, especially in the remote mountains and vast deserts of China, have been eroded and destroyed over the centuries, and very few parts remain today. In addition to the difficulty in determining the exact length of the Great Wall of China, historians are still discovering parts of the wall. For example, in October 2002, a new 80 kilometers long section of the Great Wall was discovered in northwest China. A few months before that, Chinese archaeologists managed to find parts of the 2,000-year-old wall that belonged to the Han dynasty. In any case, if only the distance between the two sections of the farthest points of the Great Wall of China is considered, it is approximately 6,700 kilometers. However, most calculations have estimated its length between 6,276 and 7,242 kilometers. Some estimates include the total length of the various walls built in all Chinese dynasties, which is about 50,000 kilometers. The Guinness Book of Records records the length of the wall's main line as 3,460 kilometers, excluding the additional 3,532 kilometers of its branches. Although the length of the Great Wall of China is still debated by many people, the Cultural Heritage Administration of China and the State Mapping Bureau recently conducted the most comprehensive archaeological survey of the wall and concluded that the total length of the wall is 8,851 kilometers. The main purpose of building the Great Wall of China was to protect the Chinese Empire from the invasions of the northern nomads. However, it rarely prevented invaders from entering China, and was instead more of a psychological barrier between northern and southern civilizations and a symbol of Chinese resilience. Another purpose of building this huge structure was to strengthen border control. This issue included imposing taxes on imported and exported goods from the Silk Road, controlling domestic and foreign trade and immigration from the borders. You may have heard that the Great Wall of China is the only man-made structure that can be seen from space with the naked eye. This is not true, and it is not possible to see the Great Wall of China from the moon. In fact, the roots of this myth go back to 1932, once claimed in a cartoon, The Great Wall of China is considered to be the most powerful man-made work and the only structure that can be seen from the moon. In addition to the problem that the Great Wall of China is only 7 meters wide, the country's air pollution is certainly a big obstacle to seeing it from space. Even if the Great Wall of China can be seen from near-Earth orbit, it is not true that the mentioned wall is the only man-made structure that can be seen from space. Not only can NASA astronauts see cities at night, but they have seen large structures including airports, bridges, dams, and more during the day. Unwilling to lose this feature of their national pride, the Chinese hope that their astronaut, Yang Liwei, the first Chinese person in space after the mission in 2003, would give good news to eager journalists. He admitted that he could not see the Great Wall of China. Finally, the Chinese Ministry of Education was forced to remove this mistake from the textbooks. The height of the Great Wall of China reaches an average of 7.8 meters, however, some parts are shorter or taller, with a height of 14 meters being observed. The workers of the Great Wall of China were mainly soldiers, peasants, and some prisoners. Unfortunately, the available historical records do not provide an accurate estimate of the total number of workers on the Great Wall of China. However, according to documents from the Qin period, only about 300,000 to 500,000 soldiers were employed, plus 400,000 to 500,000 laborers. Other documents show that at the peak of the construction of this wall during the Qin dynasty, a maximum of 1.5 million people were used, which was 1/20th of the entire country's population. Whatever the actual number of men working on the Great Wall of China, it cannot be denied that its construction over the centuries has undoubtedly resulted in human deaths and great suffering for Chinese families. Not surprisingly, the longest cemetery on Earth has been the subject of Chinese legends for years. For example, a poem from the Song dynasty describes the Great Wall of China as very high, because it is made from the bones of dead peasants. Some have taken this issue literally. According to another legend, the bones of dead workers were ground into powder to be used to make wall mortar. However, Great Wall researchers note that no bones have been discovered inside the wall and that there are only actual burial pits near the wall. It is true that in most cases, the bodies of dead workers were not returned to their villages for burial, which was considered a sacred act, because the Chinese believed and still believe that if the dead body is not buried in the village where he lives with his ancestors, his soul will be lost and wander like a hungry ghost. What did not seem to change much over the centuries was the fact that the Chinese rulers could order hundreds of thousands of citizens to work on this great project. Many cities were built along the wall, which were not only a place to house the workers, but also an industrial area for blasting stones and baking bricks. During the construction of the Great Wall during the Qin, Han, and Ming dynasties, there was even a special punishment for criminals that included working on the Great Wall. Scientists who have researched this wall have found documents that show that if a criminal died before the end of his sentence, a member of his family would replace him. In addition to prisoners, peasants were also called for years of hard work on the Great Wall of China. Throughout China's long history, countless peasants were exempted from paying taxes for their years of toil. In general, according to historical documents, many workers died of starvation and exhaustion or were killed by the commanders. It seems likely that more than 1 million people died during the construction of the Great Wall of China. The Great Wall of China is considered one of the largest man-made structures, and various techniques have been used to build it. Considering that the construction of the wall has been done for a long time, the materials used in it are related to the historical period and the common construction method in that period. The first walls, built before the Sui dynasty, were made of compacted earth, clay, and stone between wooden planks. Builders systematically used the simplest and most common sources available. In fact, the place where the wall was built determined what materials would be used for it. As the wall extended across the mountain range, the stones found in the mountain were used for construction. Since these materials were heavy and had to be squared, construction progressed slowly. In the plains and flat lands, compacted soil is made into solid molds, while in desert environments, reed and red willow branches were layered with sand and gravel. Wooden boards were also used in many parts of the wall as the framework of the structure. Part of the Great Wall of China, which was built in the era of Chinese history in Hebei province, was made of soil, and today it has almost disappeared due to its low resistance to wind and rain. During the Tang and Song dynasties, the technology of making bricks was developed, and because bricks were smaller and lighter than stone and dirt, they became popular. At the beginning of the Tang dynasty, bricks were used in strategic places. However, the cost of their production and transportation was challenging. For this reason, the use of bricks was limited only to the defensive wall and the outer wall around the passages, and yellow mud was used to fill the body of the wall. During the Ming dynasty in the 14th century, Chinese design and construction techniques advanced significantly. For the first time, baked bricks were used to build the Great Wall of China, which was about 4 times larger than modern bricks. This brick was produced in a network of kilns, some of which still exist. To ensure the production of strong bricks, they were heated for 7 days at a temperature of 1150 degrees Celsius. The negative point about using bricks was that transporting them to mountainous areas required more manpower compared to using available raw materials. According to estimates, when the Great Wall of China was built in the Ming dynasty, almost 1 in 3 adult men were summoned to work on the wall. The quality and quantity of production and distribution grew to such an extent that workers could use bricks for all parts of the wall. One of the unique features of this period was the materials used for mortar. While modern mortar consists of sand and clay, this was not possible at the time. Therefore, the Chinese made another form of mortar using materials that were easily produced. They used sticky rice as a binding material for the bricks, mortar obtained from the combination of organic and inorganic materials. The organic material was made of viscous rice porridge and the inorganic material was made of dead lime, which together gave more stable physical properties and greater mechanical strength to the wall. The small size and lightness of the bricks also increased the construction speed and strengthened the structure of the Chinese wall. However, for the parts of the Great Wall that were built along the mountain ranges, they used huge rocks from the mountains. The defensive works of the Great Wall during the Ming dynasty included a fortress city, a garrison city, a military fortress, a watchtower, a wall tower, and a furnace hill, to create smoke in case of invasion. These architectures were connected with each other and formed a complete network of defense projects. The sectors close to Peking were strengthened and fortified so that there was no way to penetrate them. For more strength, the walls were covered with lime and tiles. The stones were cut into rectangular pieces and used in parts such as foundations, gates, and curbs. In addition, small slits measuring 30 x 20 centimeters were created in the upper part of the walls to be used for battle. Basically, the Great Wall of China consists of three important structures, which are walls, passages, and signal towers. Wall. The walls form a major part of the entire structure of the Chinese wall, and their height is between 6 and 9 meters on average. The width of the base of the walls often reaches 6.5 meters and 5.8 meters at the top. In some places where the land is uneven, natural features such as river dikes, mountain cliffs, and gorges have been used instead of human construction. Crossings, where the Great Wall of China intersected with major trade routes, safe crossings were built. These intersections are about 10 meters high and their width is 5 meters at the top. The passageways had ramps and ladders that were used to pass horses, merchants, and soldiers to both sides of the wall. Signal tower. These high fortifications were located at a distance of 18 kilometers from each other and were usually located on top of the hills and were used to transmit information and military communications. Smoke signals were used during the day and fire or lanterns at night. Some other modes of signaling included using large flags, making loud noises, or firing guns. In the lower part of these towers, there was a resting place for soldiers, a storage compartment and stables for keeping horses, sheep, etc. Instead of being a distinct and independent work, the architecture of the Great Wall of China is integrated with the surrounding nature. This stone structure moves in a sloping landscape and seems to have no beginning and end, and as a result, the presence of natural forms and changing color of the vegetation is more noticeable. The Great Wall of China was a strong structure by itself, but its successful defense depended on soldiers guarding it day and night. Soldiers had different tasks in each phase of the war. Smoke signals from watchtowers. Soldiers would be stationed on the adjacent grounds and watch for enemy movement while patrolling the wall. When the enemy approached, they would light a fire by burning wolf feces. Seeing smoke or fire during the day or night, the soldiers of the nearby towers alert the troops to prepare for battle. Shooting arrows. There were about 25,000 towers on the Great Wall in total, and the soldiers of each tower had a good view of the surroundings. When the enemy approached the Great Wall, archers would shoot through holes in the wall. This method effectively reduces the number of injured soldiers during defense and lowers the enemy's attack percentage. Throwing stones, despite using archery, enemy soldiers could still get close to the wall. At this stage, the forces on the wall would throw huge stones down to destroy the enemies and their ladders and prevent them from climbing the wall. Horses on the wall, if the enemies managed to enter the wall, the defensive cavalry made it difficult for them to continue moving. Some sections of the wall were large enough for 4 horses to move abreast. As the defending soldiers retreated to the towers, it was the turn of the cavalry to attack the attackers. Horses would slow down the enemy's attack and give enough time for the defending soldiers to arrive. The Great Wall of China was used to communicate and move military forces. Moving over the wall was much faster than on the slopes of the mountain. When the enemy reached the wall, the Chinese soldiers would come out from the watchtowers and put pressure on the enemy from both sides. As soon as the wall was recaptured, the enemy would be isolated and trapped inside China, and it was possible to overcome it easily. The Great Wall of China is very long and there are many places you can visit. The most popular part of the Great Wall of China for walking is between Samatai and Jinshanliang, which takes about 4 hours to cover the distance of 10 kilometers. Some parts of this wall are steep and it takes some time to pass them. In the following, we will mention the most famous parts of the Great Wall of China. Badaling is the most popular and most crowded part of the Great Wall, which has been meticulously restored. In fact, this is the most commercialized section of the wall that most tourists visit. The northern passage has undergone extensive reconstruction and was the first section to be opened for tourism in 1957. The Badaling walls were built during the Ming dynasty as a strategic passage north of Beijing, and since they are located in the mountainous heights, they offer tourists an extraordinary view. Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, George Bush, and Obama are among the famous figures who have visited this wall. Today, even foreign companies can rent parts of the wall to host various events. Although you can walk in 2 opposite directions after the main entrance, you have to walk a considerable distance to see the raw and unrenovated parts. Zhongguan. Zhuyongguan is located near the Badaling Wall and is a Ming-era monument that has been extensively restored. This section, which is located 50 kilometers northwest of Beijing, is considered the closest section of the wall to Beijing, and although the view around it is not as attractive as Badaling, it is worth visiting due to the less crowd of tourists. In this place, you will see a castle that is located between tall towers and controlled the access to Beijing for centuries. In addition, there is a rare structure called Yuntai or cloud platform in this place. This platform, which is made of granite and marble stones of Fangshan Mountain, has a beautiful arch decorated with reliefs. Muishanyu. Muishanyu is considered to be the longest and most restored section of the Great Wall of China, and is not only easy to access, but also worth walking. This section stretches thousands of meters above the mountain and forms a triangle similar to a cow's horn, which is also known as the Cow's Horn Wall. If you are not limited in terms of time, it is better to avoid seeing the upper parts of the wall and instead go to the Mutianyu section, 50 kilometers east of Badaling. Although this part is located 90 kilometers northeast of Beijing, it has good views and less tourist population. Mutianyu was opened to the public in 1986, and in addition to walking, it is possible to go up to the top of the wall by cable car. With so many food vendors, several hotels, and fun attractions adjacent to the wall, it's no wonder tourists love to walk along this section of the Great Wall of China. Simatai. Simatai is far more secluded than other parts of the Great Wall of China, but according to many tourists, it has a much more beautiful view than the upper parts. Simatai is stretched for 5.5 kilometers, and since it has a very steep slope, it is not suitable for elderly tourists and travelers with small children or physical limitations. For example, to climb the 70-degree slope known as the Stairway to Heaven, you have to get on all fours. This part is stretched along the top of high mountains and rocks, and the builders used only a few layers of bricks to build the wall, making optimal use of nature. The best part of Simatai is the stone overpass and the stairs leading to the ferry tower. This overpass overlooks deep valleys on both sides and led to the Stairway to Heaven, which consists of a narrow mountain path for one person to walk through. Jinshanliang. Jinshanliang is located 150 kilometers from Beijing and west of Simatai, and is suitable for those looking to see relatively undeveloped parts of the Great Wall of China. Despite the fact that Jinshanliang has not been substantially restored, it is the second most complete section of the Great Wall of China after Badaling. This 10-kilometer section has many standing structures such as watchtowers and ramparts that show off the architectural style of Ming towers. There are up to 67 towers in this place. Most of them are two-story and in different shapes of square, round, and even strange angles. An unusually large tower called the Storehouse Tower is located in Jinshanliang district, protected by a wall in front, defensive barriers, and a 60-meter wall below, and was used as a garrison headquarters during the Ming period. Some of the unique features of this section include shot holes, barns, and towers with window frames made of marble and granite. Jinko. For the real Great Wall of China experience, head to Jiangkou, which is significantly off the tourist radar, yet close to Mutianyu and easily accessible from Beijing. This section looks rugged and potentially dangerous, and is therefore not recommended for the casual hiker with inappropriate footwear. In fact, a January 2011 article in the China Daily reported that Jiangkou was the most dangerous outdoor recreation area in Beijing in 2010. For adventurous and experienced travelers, it is worth visiting this wall, especially the white rock sections that are stretched in the mountainous areas. The most famous part of the wall is Juyan Lu or 9-Eye Tower, which is located near the borders of Huairou and Yanqing. This is the largest tower from the Ming period, the only watchtower in the history of the Great Wall of China with 36 openings, including a row of 9 openings on each side. Almost all Ming towers were 3-eyed or 5-eyed, and this tower, with a height of 1,300 meters above sea level, is the tallest tower along the wall. Huanghuachen. Huanghuachen is located between Badaling and Muishanyu and is shaped like a crescent moon. Huaming Lake divides this wall into 3 parts, so that the main parts of the wall are placed in the water. This area becomes very beautiful, especially in the spring months with the blooming of yellow flowers. Although Huanghuachen has a unique setting, it is one of the less visited areas of the wall and is a great choice if you are looking to avoid the crowds. In addition to walking along the wall, you can go boating or walk around a lake and cross the dam instead of climbing the mountain. There is also a beautiful chestnut garden next to the wall, which dates back to the Ming dynasty, and it is worth visiting. Shanhai Pass. Shanhai Pass, which is located in Hebei Province, was built in 2001 and became a national cultural site in China in 1961. Located 300 kilometers east of Beijing, the crossing historically served as a front line of defense against ethnic groups. The square-shaped Shanhai Passage has walls 14 meters high and 7 meters thick, and a tall bell tower is located in the middle of it. Yanmen Pass. Yanmen Pass is a mountain pass with 3 fortified gates, which was used in ancient China as a checkpoint and movement control between the valleys of the Eurasian steppe and central Shaanxi. Many important wars took place in this place, which led to World War II. Today, this passage is considered one of the tourist attractions of the Great Wall of China. Gobaiko. Gobaiko is one of the spectacular parts of the Great Wall of China, because it has not been restored and you can watch a real piece of this masterpiece without any interference. More than 130 battles have taken place here. Gobaiko has several towers with unique architecture and rugged and mountainous scenery. This route is generally suitable for walking, although there are also big hills in it. For hiking, you can go from Gobaiko to Jinshanliang, which takes about 5 hours. Maintenance and protection of the Chinese Wall. Today's threats to the Great Wall of China come from reckless tourists, opportunistic developers, apathetic people, and nature. In general, these factors, which are mainly the product of China's economic boom, have put the Great Wall at risk. It is reported that about 30% of the Great Wall of China, which belonged to the Ming period, has been destroyed due to adverse natural conditions and human activities. William Lindsay, founder and director of the Great Wall of China International Association, says, "The next 30 years will be a period when the destruction of the wall will be much less." When the British geographer became the first foreigner to run the length of the wall and was arrested several times along the way, he wrote about the protection of the wall. Even in the 1990s, I saw farmers demolishing the towers with shovels, placing the bricks in their baskets to carry them down the mountain for their construction. In late 2006, strict regulations were introduced to prevent such abuses, and damage to the Great Wall and vandalism such as graffiti, littering and brick theft are now criminal offenses. However, the rules do not make any provision for additional staff or funding. According to Dong Yai, head of China Wall Association, the problem is not the lack of rules, but the lack of enforcement. In 2009, Mongolian gold prospectors irreparably destroyed about 91 meters of a 2,000-year-old section of the wall in a remote part of Mongolia. Dong Yai says, "The Great Wall of China is a miracle and a cultural achievement not only for China, but for humanity. If we allow it to be damaged in just 1 or 2 generations, it will be our permanent shame." Another protective measure of the Great Wall of China was that the number of visitors to the Badaling section was limited to 65,000 people per day. The government has also asked people to be diligent in protecting and improving the environment so as to reduce acid rain, which is a big problem for the Great Wall of China. In addition, the government has enacted regulations to prohibit grazing and other negative behavior on the Great Wall. Teaching the residents near the wall to prohibit removing bricks and other materials from it has also been one of the protection measures of the Great Wall of China. Also, planting trees seems to be a good way to protect the Great Wall from storms and rain. Reconstruction of the Great Wall of China. Nature, time, neglect, and millions of steps of visitors have left their negative effect on the Great Wall of China and caused the destruction of a large part of it. Natural erosion. Since the Great Wall of China was built on mountains or in deserts, it was very difficult for the Chinese people to protect all its parts, especially the parts that were located in rural areas. Also, parts of the Great Wall that were built with dirt, lime, and even branches and were not strong enough, did not have much resistance against the annual rains, hurricanes, earthquakes, and other natural disasters. Human activities. In addition to natural effects, human activities have been the major cause of damage to the Great Wall of China. People who lived near the wall used to graze their goats and cattle on the wall. The activity of these animals during many years led to the collapse of bricks and soil until some parts of the wall were finally destroyed. Many residents near the wall also only considered their own interests. They used the bricks and stones of this wall for their personal use, such as building a house, keeping sheep, or a toilet. Also, many residents near the Great Wall of China used to sell its bricks due to poverty. The number of tourists who visit the Great Wall is also one of the reasons for the increase in damage to it. All these factors made the restoration of the wall to be on the agenda, which became a difficult and controversial task. For example, a section of the 700-year-old Great Wall of China near the border of Liaoning and Hebei province underwent renovation in 2014, drawing criticism from social media users. According to an expert, this restoration ruined the original appearance of the Great Wall and took history away from the people. Originally, the restoration team went for concrete instead of proper stone and mortar to save time and money. As a result, the old wall was equipped with a clean and flat roof, which was considered good news for skateboard lovers, and in the opinion of critics, it was an ugly and unrelated restoration of the structure. To rebuild, the cracks in the wall were first filled with cement, sand, and other inexpensive materials, and then an additional protective layer was placed on top like a hat, giving the wall a new smooth appearance. Although these controversial repairs were done in 2014, no one noticed until 2 years later, when pictures of it were posted on social media. This shows how long the Great Wall of China is, that it took a long time to unravel the story. After public protest against the restoration of this part of the Great Wall of China, the authorities insisted on a more original restoration using traditional methods, and as a result, workers went to Qatar to carry stones and mortar. In this regard, the bricks that fell from the wall were used for repair. The plan was to use traditional methods in order to preserve the original appearance. Engineer Chen Yongmao, who has led restoration operations at Jiangkou for 15 years, says, "The goal of the restoration program is to make people feel that no restoration has been done. In the continuation of the restoration of the wall, the Chinese authorities used a new tool called a drone to access some of the most vulnerable parts of this ancient wall that were too dangerous to cross. Data collected from these drones helped workers build support structures for vulnerable parts of the wall." Zhao Peng, who was involved in this, says, "This endeavor is much more complicated than reinforcing old walls with new stone and concrete. Some sections of the Great Wall are very dangerous and we have to study the shot holes, the railings, the floor design and even the lime content. To restore the Jinko Wall, workers and their equipment were held to strict standards set by local governments to preserve the wall's natural beauty and original design. The wall was built along cliffs and steep slopes, and it is not possible to use modern machinery, so the restoration efforts are based on old methods. In this way, the traditional bricks are placed next to each other by hand and using basic tools and are transported in batches by mule. Next, the bricks are placed in buckets and taken to the upper levels of the wall by traditional pulley systems. These bricks, which have already fallen from the wall or are exact copies of them, are placed in their place with simple tools such as hammers, chisels, and shovels. Currently, the Chinese authorities are closely monitoring the progress of the work so that the restoration of the Great Wall is based on its original materials, shape, and construction, so that the wall retains its original appearance. Great Wall of China attractions. Walking is the most popular activity you can do while visiting the Great Wall of China. In addition, night hiking, marathon, camping on the wall and watching the great mountain view are other options in front of you. Night walk. Samatai is the only part of the Great Wall of China that is lit up at night. Between the 5th and 6th watchtowers, it is lit up at night, and thanks to the cobblestone path, it is possible to climb it easily. At night, you can see a beautiful view of Gobi Blue City Promenade located at the bottom of the mountain. After your night visit to the Great Wall of China, visit this resort that hosts tourists with hot springs next to 5-star hotels. Marathon. The Great Wall Marathon, usually held in May, first took place in 1999 and is noted for its challenging course, stunning views of the Great Wall, and peaceful villages. This marathon is one of the top 10 marathon routes in the world, which attracts many runners from all over the world to China. In addition to running, participants sometimes have to walk the slope of the wall on their hands and feet. Camping. If you love the outdoors and want to have a special experience on the Great Wall of China, camping is a good choice. Undoubtedly, by looking at the ridge of the Great Wall and listening to the sounds of the environment at night, you can imagine how the northern guards of China looked after their country centuries ago. The best season for camping is early fall, when if you're lucky, you might be able to see the Milky Way at night. Cable car. The Great Wall of China is built on high mountains, and therefore, to climb it, you usually have to walk for about an hour on mountain paths and walk the same way back. Fortunately, some parts of the wall are equipped with cable cars for tourists so that they don't need to walk anymore. In the Muishanyo section, there is another attractive way called roller coaster cars to go down the wall. You just have to sit on these cars and go down the valley easily. Jin's Hanliang cable car and Badaling train are also other options in front of you. Paragliding. Thrill lovers should not miss paragliding when visiting the Great Wall of China. Some sites, including Wing.China.com, offer you the chance to jump off the edge of the Samatai Wall and ride down the canyon. Paragliding is possible in all parts of the wall that are open to the public. After flying down the valley, many people enjoy hiking on the way back. The Great Wall of China has many attractions throughout the year, but the weather condition and tourist crowd will affect your experience. Since most people visit the parts of the Great Wall near Beijing, focusing on the weather in this area, the best time to visit is spring and autumn. In autumn, thanks to less rain, favorable air temperature and more sunny days, you can enjoy walking and photographing the scenery. The weather in Beijing is delightful in spring, although March is still too cold to hike the Great Wall of China. The months of April and May with an average temperature of 11 to 24 degrees Celsius during the day are recommended for visiting the Great Wall of China. In the summer, when the heat reaches its peak, the popular parts of the wall become very crowded, and in the cold winter, there are almost no tourists, although the snow covers the mountains and walls and creates very attractive snow scenes. To make the most of your time, try to get to the Great Wall of China as early as possible to avoid the crowds. If you go there when the wall starts to work, you can take stunning photos of the sunrise, or you might want to stay until the end and enjoy the sunset when the crowds have thinned out a lot. Thank you for being with me until the end. You really liked and subscribed. Bye.